Good morning, everyone. Welcome to NAB 2011 and welcome to the Autodesk booth. My name's Bill and I'm here with Taylor Vavra from Just Add Water in New York. Taylor, thanks for coming to Vegas.
Thank you. It's exciting. It's fun to be here.
It's kind of different, right?
It is, yeah. It's different. A little change up from my daily routine.
You're not in your dark room. You're under the bright lights for a change, right?
Bright lights and lots of people.
That's a little bit. Yeah, you're usually facing that way and they're behind you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Taylor has very graciously agreed to come out to NAB to kind of take us through some of the work that he deals with every day, and he basically came to Smoke on the Mac not too long ago. So we wanted to kind of get his sort of fresh perspective on the product. You're a young guy. You told me a little bit about your background, but why don't you tell the folks here more about yourself and how you got into the business and how you came to start using Smoke?
Sure, yeah. Started out in high school working a broadcast show, a journalism show for the high school, for the school district. And
you're from Long Island, I think?
From New York, from just north of the city.
Okay.
And ended up meeting the broadcast producer for the nightly news who lived in town and offered me an internship, which I quickly took.
Right.
And I spent a lot of time with him through high school when I wasn't in school, working at NBC, doing graphics for the nightly news, sitting with paint box artists and chyrons and just running through the nightly newscast kind of deal.
So you were working over at 30 Rock.
I was working at 30 Rock.
As a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah, running tapes down to the 4th floor at 6:20 for a 6:30 broadcast.
That's great.
That kind of thing.
That's fun. So even though you look young, you're a 10-year veteran in the business. All right.
I guess so.
So that's kind of fun. And as far as then you got out of, once you finished school, you went to school of visual arts.
Went to Temple, graduated, started working for a company, Just Add Water, New York City, small boutique editorial. And ended up going to SVA at that point, learning After Effects and a couple other things, and went back to Just Add Water and did a couple years as editor and graphics person and did After Effects and stuff like that. And then we started working on Macy's.
Right, and Macy's was a big, huge project for you guys. I mean, how many spots a year do you deliver for Macy's?
We deliver over 400 spots a year for Macy's.
Wow.
So obviously every day is a little bit crazy.
Right.
But we get through it, and Smoke is certainly a big part of the reason why we're able to deliver.
Yeah, when I first met you, you came to a demo actually, and you actually brought a hard drive with you because you said, I want to see if you can track my footage. I see your demo, but I want to see if you can track this footage.
Exactly.
And your problem at the time, I think, was really workflow, right? You said you had a lot of bottlenecks in your workflow.
We did, yeah. We had multiple applications, multiple plugins, doing offline editing in Avid, constantly going in and out of Avid, back to After Effects, to other programs, and it was taking up everybody's time, and we weren't, efficiently finishing the spots.
So what Smoke brought to the table was the fact that you could stay in one application longer and accomplish all those different tasks, and that's what we want to show you in this presentation. Yep. So let's take a look at the first example. We've got some art cards that were shot from Macy's, and we've got multiple versions that need to be produced for this particular spot.
Right, so this is something that happens very, very often. Macy's has savings passes lifted from print catalogs, which the actors are holding, and we version everything from English to Spanish, and they don't shoot Spanish cards, so we obviously have to remove the English type and replace it with Spanish type.
And sometimes
and multiple versions.
Multiple versions in English as well.
Yeah, multiple English versions, changing the type to different offers and different sales and things like that.
So why don't you take us through the process of how you would actually do a few versions of this card in the middle there. So let's get that one out.
So we'll take this scene here and we'll just lift it out to our edit desk and we'll plop it down there. And the first thing you'll notice is this was shot on 35mm film. So we have a pull down. We have a 3/2 pull down, which was inserted from the transfer.
Yeah, there's some cadence issues there. So we're going to see some of these interlaced frames. Right. We want to get rid of that.
Yeah, it's going to cause us a lot of problems when we track. So what we'll do is we'll just jump to our first frame after interlaced frame. We'll come down to our film tool, and we'll remove the pull down using a simple remove pull down tool. And just that quickly, we now have a progressive clip, which is going to have no 3/2 pull down in it, which will make our tracking
and also if you're
easier.
painting, if you're trying to rotoscope something in the paint program within Smoke, it's going to make it easier to deal with that.
Certainly. So the first step, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into action, and we're going to track this in. And but before we do that, we're going to need a clean plate.
Right.
So what we're going to do is come down here to the middle of our scene, and we're going to mark our in and our out point, and we're going to just pull out one frame. And that one frame, we're going to come over to paint, and we're just going to get rid of our English type.
Right. So again, all in one, we're able to go from one area of the software into another, and now you're just accessing the paint tool, instant access.
I'm going to use a recursive clone tool and just make our brushes a little bit smaller and maybe move our areas a little closer together.
Yep.
And then very quickly and efficiently, I'm just going to come in here and remove our English type.
Right. So that's the first step. You got to start by cleaning up the original card and getting the text out of there, so then you can start doing your versions on top of the clean plate.
Correct.
So we're going to jump out of paint, and notice when he exits paint, we have the new clip, so it's non-destructive. We got access to the original if we need to go back.
Exactly.
And
so then what we're going to do from that is just subsample a full red frame, which we're going to use to fill in our card here and cover up our English type. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll clear our in and outs here, and we'll jump into action.
You're in the record, though, I think, aren't you? Oh, no, you got the right one.
I'm good. Yeah,
you're good.
Here.
So we're going to action. And action is really the heart of the system. What's cool about action is it actually brings together all the different modules in one environment, and it's a 3D environment. So you have a camera, you have lights, you have all these different tools that available to do 3D compositing. And the tracking is probably the strongest part.
The tracking is definitely the strongest part, and this is a type of track that using other programs may prove a little bit more difficult. Your tracker may jump around. You have to spend a lot of time setting it up and working through it. But with Smoke, it goes pretty easily. So we'll come in here and we'll go into our object, and we're going to make our fill layer, the clean plate. We're going to turn that into a bilinear, which is going to allow us to basically corner pin track that onto our card.
Yeah, if you want to grab one of the corners and just pull it, you can see that what this gives you the ability to do now is you can just, just there you go, perfect. You just basically convert any of those surfaces into a geometry, and that geometry can now be tracked. The corner, the pins, the edges of that can be tracked to anything. So.
Yep. So then what we're going to do here is we're going to jump back to our object, and with our bilinear set up, we're going to come into the vertices, and then we're going to go into our stabilizer, our tracker.
Right. So,
and once we're in here,
accessing the tracker directly,
we're all still inside of action here. We're going to select our first tracker point, and we're going to position that in the upper left corner of our track. We're going to go to our second and place that over here. Our third's going to come down to the lower left corner. Just make sure we're in the right place. And the fourth one's going to go into the lower right corner.
Great.
And without having to adjust anything, I'm just going to let the tracker fly and see what it does.
Yeah.
And just like that, we've tracked out our scene, and we have our corner pin tracking information.
And that data is now applied to the corners of the overall image. So when you return.
Yeah. So when we go back now and we come into our media, we want to turn our matte off for our clean plate. And with a little bit more tweaking, maybe some cropping on the edges, a little bit of color correction throughout, we're going to make that match up and clean that English type out of there pretty quickly.
And let's go ahead and process it to give people the idea of the speed. So it's this process is almost real time. You just basically send that back out, that new render back out to the desktop
so
where
there
you can bring it up.
Now you're back on the desktop with your clean render. But we're going to jump back into action using our same setup we had. And we're going to come into the media, and we're going to take the media, and we're going to
replace the background first.
Yep, we're going to replace the background with our
clean plate.
With our clean card now. So we have that in here, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to come in here, and we're going to replace what was our clean plate with our first set of type that's going to go onto our card, our first version. So I'll double click on that, and what that's going to allow me to do is come in here and select my matte and my fill for that type. And we'll come in here and we'll turn the matte back on. We had it off for the clean plate, but we want it on to respect the alpha channel for our type. So now what we've done is we've created version 1. We have a Spanish WOW pass, and we can go ahead and process that out.
Bingo. So you're able to repurpose that original setup, and now you're just automating, right?
Now I'm just automating. Now I could sit here all day, and I need to make an English version. I need to make a 10 off version of the card for a different spot. So I'll come in here, and basically I'm just going to reselect my fill and my matte for that, and now I have another version already tracked in and ready to go. I'll process that one out. And that quickly we were able to create multiple versions of our thing and be ready to go. We'll apply a 3-2 pull down.
Yeah, so you want to get the original timing back so you can reapply the 3-2 pull down, put that cadence back in, you get the correct length.
We're going to add the pull down to our second shot.
And you're done. So you see that process. This is what Taylor deals with every day. And when you have, what, 10 shots or, you know, multiple shots to get done?
Sometimes I'm finishing with 400 spots a year. There's days where I'm definitely finishing more than one spot in a day. And it could be, you know, 8, 9, 10, 12 of these different scenes in a day. And for each one, it could be, you know, up to 3 versions, English and Spanish.
Yeah, so it's a lot of work. And you need something that's not only fast and efficient, but, again, that removes the bottlenecks because you don't have to go through this application and create one thing and then move the media to another application.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's great. So you're really showing us the benefit there. So let's move on to the second example, which is that was NTSC. So we're going to look at an HD example, move up in resolution.
So I'm going to clear out my area and just jump in here and go into my library and switch projects. And we're going to select our folder here, and we're going to add it to our area here.
Yeah, so we're just going to load up a new project, and you can see that was quick to do. And what we're going to do is talk more about keying. And that's another thing that you do a lot for these Macy's ads, right? You get like hundreds of keys sometimes in just one spot. It is, yeah. It's
some spots, like this one in particular, was a spot that we did in conjunction with, Macy's did in conjunction with Xbox 360 when Kinect came out.
Right.
And it was a spot which basically showcased their product and helped sell some stuff for Macy's. So it was a green screen spot. It was shot on 35 millimeter film, and it was head to tail, green screen composite, and we finished it here in smoke. And it was you know, really cool spot, so we can show that.
Yeah, so why don't we show that first?
Macy's and Xbox connect with style on your own terms. With Connect for Xbox 360, you are the controller. Levi's jeans for him, $32.99. And Levi's for her, $31.99. Score big with guys' activewear and sneakers at great prices. Game on. Junior screen tees, $14.99. Go to Macys.com/MStyleLab to find out how you can win a free Xbox 360 with Connect, where you are the controller. Fun for everyone. That's the magic of Macy's.
So obviously a lot of work went into putting those green screens together. So why don't you show us some of the original timelines and talk about the workflow going from offline to finishing?
Yeah, so the spot was, like I said, shot on 35, transferred and color corrected. I then took in DPX sequences of the 1920 1080. Some of the shots had some 2K in it where we did major blow-ups in the smoke. So those were there as well. But what we started out with was basically a very simple conform from an offline EDL out of an Avid. The spot was cut in SD. I got an EDL, and what that did was just you know, link up all my DPX sequences, so I have those here. Eventually, early on in the process of going through this project, you know, we kind of broke up that whole sequence into a
that's the one, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one there. Into a bunch of different things where we kind of leveled everything out and added head and tail trim to our scene so that if there was some adjustments on the edit after the fact, we had head and tail trim already composited and keyed and ready to go. So here what we did was...
Well, you were organizing multiple levels of green screens as well.
Exactly. So yeah, in a shot like this where 2 different scenes were composited to make the final, we kind of stacked those up so we know, you know, basically just line it all up, a little organization. But now I guess we can jump ahead and start keying out our first scene.
Let's talk about keying out one of these scenes. And before we do that, if you don't mind matching that shot out, I wanted to take people on a little tour of some new functionality in the software, what we call flame effects.
Certainly, yeah. So what we're going to do is just match our shot out. So we'll take this, and with one button, we're on the desktop here. And we have our clip with our head and tail trim that came in from our EDL. So we'll come down to our tool set here, and new in 2012, which I'm very, very excited about, is a major upgrade is flame effects.
Yeah, and what's fun about this demonstration is Taylor had never seen the software before he got here, so he was, you know, trying to get up to speed on it, and then we stumbled upon this folder and we decided to put it in the demo.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bunch of really cool new tools that extend the Smoke for Mac tool set by a huge degree, and you know, really going to help me finish a lot more projects quickly and efficiently. And
so let's look at the blur first. Why don't we jump into blur, and
we'll
we're
just
going
jump in
for
with
the
a front.
Yep.
And we'll come in here.
And there's if you look at the different types of blurs that you have Gaussian and of course box. But if you go up to the radial stamp, I think this one's really cool because of the speed. Check out the performance here. You're able to make adjustments to the amount, and it's giving you that real-time feedback. That's because we're writing specifically to take advantage of the hardware. In this case, it's on the GPU.
Yeah, and everything's completely
card.
animatable, and here we can come in and we can move our center point for our blur around, and everything's real time. It's not hanging up at all. I can move it as quickly as I can move my pointer.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so something like a blur, then there's a lot of options in there, but that one's a cool one. Let's look at bump displace. I think this is also kind of a cool effect, an automatic type effect using a displacement map, essentially. You can see we even have a light that you can move around. So if you grab that light and start to move it around, you can see how it's affecting that image, but you get this sort of bumped look, and you can imagine this sort of embossed effect could be useful for lots of different situations.
And obviously it can be tweaked with a bunch of different parameters and adjusted for whatever.
And you can animate everything as well. So let's jump back out. What was the other one? Damage. We wanted to show damage.
Yeah,
so
damage
this was cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And what it allows me to do is basically create old film effects in 3 different kinds. I have film, analog, and digital video. So we'll start with film, and we'll load up all of our...
Yeah, we're going to overdo it and show you all the possibilities.
We're going to go crazy.
And actually, if you want to put in into the splices, let's make that like 20, right? And you put that in now and hit play. You'll see that, again, we're playing these back in real time. This is the speed of the rendering of the clip. Even at HD, you can do these kind of automatic type effects to kind of make your footage look old, or even, you know, we can do the video damage. Maybe look at one of those video damage as well.
We'll come into analog video, and we'll turn those guys on. And we'll just hit play, and at real time, we're going to be able to see its output. And
yeah, so if you don't want to have to go through a lot of hoops to do these kinds of things, you can just access what's essentially like a plug-in within the application itself. Okay, great. And then the last one we want to look at before we go and do our key is something called Denoise.
Yeah, which is a really, really cool thing that I'm very excited about. We get a lot of clips, and sometimes we'll have grain issues or noise issues, which obviously have to be addressed. Smoke previously had great tools for that, but the denoise and the flame effects has really stepped above and beyond that.
Yeah, so let's jump in there because, you know, sometimes you're going to prepare your green screen element, kind of clean it up to make it easier for the keyer to do a good job. So if we zoom up a little bit and just take a look at this grain pattern, you can see this, because this was shot on film, you do get some grain in that result. So
for sure,
what we can do is actually take that away by using the denoise tool.
Yeah, so we'll come in and we're going to add our first analysis area. So we'll add that in, and what we're going to do is move that into a dark area of our green screen. Obviously, our green screen's a little bit lit from dark to light, and we'll analyze that. And what that's going to do is build up our graph down here of all the different areas and different grain structures and noise structures throughout the image. We'll add a second area, and we'll put that on a light area in our green screen, and we'll analyze that. We'll add another one, and we'll put that on our skin tone. So we'll get her skin tone here, and we'll analyze that. And as you can see, our graph down here is just growing and growing in information.
And you can keep going. Maybe put one in a shadow area.
Yeah, we'll put one in a dark, shadowy area here. We'll analyze that.
And then one last one in like a lighter area.
One last one, and we'll put that on our super white couch over here, and we'll analyze that.
Okay, and then we hit process.
I'm going to hit process.
And you'll see very quickly we can get some frames. So that's enough frames. Let me go ahead and stop that because we're sort of running out of time here, Taylor. I hate to rush you a bit, but I just wanted you to get to the keyers before we left the process here.
Yeah.
So let's exit back out, and we're going to take that now into action one more time. And we're going to go ahead and just jump into the keyers. So we've got our front
our back and our
mat.
Oh, actually, let's
Right,
do
so
that
let's
again.
do that
Let's
with
grab
the
our
original
front,
background. Yep.
our back, and our mat.
Yep. So that's the sequence.
We'll come in here.
Let's change
We're just going to
the,
go to our setup.
Yep.
Make sure that our background, our resolution of our setup is
Yep.
that of our back clip.
We're working with HD 10-bit images here.
We are, yep. And so now we'll jump back into our media and we'll go right into our master key here.
Right. And now let's take a sample of the green screen.
Yep, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our first selector here and we're just going to drag across and we're going to get our mat.
Does a pretty good job.
It's a pretty good job. It needs to be tweaked a little bit.
But
so
what's great about the master key is you get different options on the UI itself, right?
Exactly, yeah. So what we'll do is we'll bring up our tools here and we'll be able to go in and adjust these areas individually and kind of just tweak the mat out, find it somewhere a balance in between where we're not bringing in too much bad on the sides here.
And you get to focus on the imagery as you're adjusting these sliders, which is great.
Yeah, and works pretty well. So then what we'll do is we'll come in and we'll do our first selective, our first patch.
Right, so we're going to add a patch.
We're going to come in here and we have some problem areas in here where we're showing through a little bit. We'll come in and we'll turn these to white.
Right.
So those are going to basically add into our mat here. And we'll maybe do
so
another
you can
one
just
here.
Grab that, yeah.
And then we'll do our second patch. And we're going to want to remove some of this bad stuff in our black area here. So we'll come in and we'll patch that out. And we'll patch this out, and we'll come in and just get rid of all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that gives people the idea, and you can do some of course, edge detection tools, and you also have some
just clean up the
shrinks
edges
and
a
blurs.
little bit, and just like that, we have our.
It also does an automatic color suppression, so it automatically removes the green spill in the shot, which is great. And if we come back out, I just wanted to go into the color corrector real quick to also kind of
so we'll jump out of our key here, and we have our stuff here. So we'll jump into the color corrector, and I can immediately start color correcting our clip. So let's go to the color warper.
Maybe bring the blacks down a little bit.
Maybe we bring the blacks down a little bit.
Yeah, whites up a little bit.
Whites up a little bit.
Again, we have this is a selective color correction tool, so you have all these different options. But again, you were able to use a tool to clean up the grain, go in and do the key, and do the color correction all in one environment.
All in one environment, and I can return out here, and I can very quickly process out in less than 10 seconds my key, my color correction, and everything. And we've got our grain gone now, and we're back on our edit desk with our finished scene.
And you've removed those bottlenecks you had previously where you would have had to go through multiple applications to do that. And of course, you can just drop that back into the timeline and move on to the next shot because you got 400 of these to get done.
400 of these spots to get done, that is correct.
All right, well, big round of applause for Taylor Vavra from Just Add Water, a young man with a lot of knowledge. Probably half your life now has been spent doing this kind of work.
Well, I hope the second half is spent working on your software.
Well, I
love
appreciate
it.
you saying that. Thanks a lot, Taylor.